Hey, what's up, guys? Houston here. Look, if you're just starting your new LLC, I'm going to give you the ultimate cheat code to building business credit for your new LLC. Okay. Now, here's the thing about it that most people, when they're starting a new LLCs, one of the biggest things that slows them down from getting funding is their NAICS code. And so, what I mean by that is they're looking at businesses that generate a lot of revenue, right? However, the challenge comes in when you choose the wrong business NAICS code, you put yourself at higher risk. And so some of the examples of what I mean is like a lot of people talking about going into credit repair. Everybody can do credit repair now, right? And so that's a high risk NAICS code. Another one is because the economy is so tight, a lot of people are jumping into MLM, multi level marketing. That's a high risk NAICS code. Then you also have investing. Now, what I mean by investing is covers a broad thing, but if you have this here term in your business name, it makes it so much challenging, so much harder for you to get the funding you want. Now, in terms of type of investing, I'm talking about like stock trading. I'm talking about real estate investing. That type of investing is what I mean when it makes it so hard for you to get the funding that you need. Now, you also have people that are selling CBD oil, okay? If you're anything remotely related to CBD, marijuana type of businesses or whatever, even though they're passing these laws and the banks are loosening up, it's still a high risk NAICS code. All right. And now here's one that's even bigger: transportation, trucking. Trucking is a high risk NAICS code. Okay. And this is the thing about it that most people don't understand. When you're dealing with high risk NAICS codes, again, it's going to cause more complications. That's the reason, like when you go to these box companies, say like LegalZoom or something, and you put your business together, they're not educating you on a high risk NAICS code. They do not care, right? So because they don't care, you should care and you should know. Now, here's the thing about it. Next thing is understanding your business name. Coming up with a business name. This is so important because a lot of people are always telling us, oh, just go with a generic name. Well, the thing about it, that generic name could be copywritten, right? So that's the reason I tell people if you're going to go with a business name, even if you're going to use your name, people say, oh, form a LLC around it. The problem is if you do not copyright that name, again, they will not process it. All right. And so Secretary of State is checking on that name. So then they already got this EIN number. Secretary of State comes back and says, well, here's the problem. Somebody already has that name, or you can't have that name. Now you don't put all your information in. Now you have to go back and try to come up with a new name. Processing time takes longer and stuff like that. That's the reason I tell people you have to be very careful when terms that, oh, I can set one up myself. Yes, you may could, but please understand some of the protocols. If you don't do it right, you'll end up wasting money and time. All right. Now, another one is in terms of banks. How many banks should you start with your new LLC? Here's the key. Always tell people you should consider having at least three different banks. You should have a tier one. A tier one bank is like your national banks. So it would be like Bank of America, Chase, City, Capital One. Chase City and Capital One, those would be my main tier banks, tier one banks. And the reason is because they report to multiple business credit bureaus. And so what I mean by multiples, I mean Experian, Equifax, and Dun and Bradstreet, Small Business Financial Exchange. That's what I mean. And those are the ones that are most important. All right. Then you have your tier two banks. Now, your tier two banks, those are your community banks that I talk about. So that would be like your Citizens Bank. your Truist Bank. That would be like your BMO, your PNC. Those are your community bank. All right. Now, the next one you're going to be thinking about is your tier three. Now, your tier three banks, those are like your credit unions. So looking at the right credit unions, like Hovia credit union, right? So they are Vantage 4, right? So that means that they are low hanging fruit. Navy Federal business bank account, that's a Vantage 3, all right? These are your low hanging fruit. They're the ones, a lot of these banks that I'm mentioning is because you can have no revenue as a new LLC and you can get up to 50,000 in funding. All right? Because they go off of stated income. That's the reason. So you have BCU, Baxter Credit Union. Okay, so Baxter Credit Union is Advantage 3. You have Viridian Credit Union, Advantage 3. Okay, so the reason I'm telling you that the difference between a FICO 9 and Advantage is because these are the easiest. Because if you have authorized users on your credit file, as well as utilities paying, showing, as well as subscriptions and rental payments, they will work with you and you still can get qualified even if you don't have any revenue in the business. All right. So now some people are asked the question, well, what about net 30s? How important net 30s is? Well, it depends on your credit. If you have a 680 or higher, then you can get away without having net 30s. However, if you want to build a stronger foundation, then I would say you should use about 4 or 5 net 30s. Now, in terms of the net 30s, I'll give you some examples. You have NAV. NAV gives you 2 trade lines, okay? And actually, this will end up being your first business credit card as well. Now, with NAV, okay, you sign up for this subscription, all right, that gives you access to your business credit file and your personal credit file. Then, what ends up happening, you have to actually utilize, keep the subscription going. It usually takes them anywhere from maybe 60 days. Okay, so you can start reporting. Now, here's the thing about trade lines, net 30s that people don't understand, even like with the banks and stuff. Those type of trade lines, they're not going to show up as the name on the trade line. It'll say like a financial institute or something like that, but it's not going to give the name of the financial institute. So you have to keep that in mind. So don't be looking for the name. Just know that it's actually reporting. Okay. So with NAV, again, they have a charge card, but it's no credit check. Okay. So you don't even have to have credit, no income in the business in order to qualify this, no deposit. All right. So that's going to be your very first card. So NAV gives you 2 trade lines, right? Now, here's another thing. You have Fair Figure. Fair Figure is a new player in the game. They similar to NAV. Now, here's the interesting. Fair Figure will give you 2 trade lines on your business credit file as well. Now, the way that happens is that the first one you would sign up for their business credit reporting program, just like NAV. All right. Then, if you're making anywhere at least $2,000 to $2,500 a month already, then they will actually give you a business credit card from 500 up to 500,000. Okay. So that jumping off will give you 4 trade lines there. Then you can use a Crown Office. Crown Office, because it reports Experian, Equifax, Dun and Bradstreet. Then you have Searchly that reports Experian, Equifax, and Dun and Bradstreet. Now, these 2 companies, they are backed by Dun and Bradstreet. So that's the reason they're valuable. And you know that they're going to report because they're backed by Dun and Bradstreet. All right. Now, you also have, when you're going after your business credit card, what would be your business credit card? Let's say that you have bad credit. So then who would have your business, lowest business, smallest, or easiest business credit cards? Here's the thing about it. In reference to your easiest business credit card, they will say like your secured business credit card. That would be like Bank of America. But with Bank of America, you have to put $1,000 down. I'm talking about unsecured credit card. So with your unsecured credit card starting out, then you probably would look at the Capital One Spark Gold card, right? So this Capital One Spark Gold card, again, because it's going to report on both sides, the personal and the business. However, you only need a 580 credit score to get this here card. So even if you had an account with Capital One that went bad, that will not disqualify you from getting this here business credit card. So that's one of them. All right. So then where else do you start? Again, talking about the low hanging fruit. So we talked about Navy Federal, PNC. Okay. Those are your FICO 9 cards, business credit cards, no revenue. We already discussed those. We discussed BCU. Now, here's something that you must do. You must do if you just created your new LLC this year, as of January 1st of 2024, then you have to report your company to FinCEN usually 90 days after you set it up. But usually they will send you out a notice. But this can actually get you in trouble. Financial trouble starting at charging you $500 a day. Plus, you can end up going to jail on this. So you don't want to play around with this, okay? Now, here's the thing about it. It's the benefit owner thing. All right. Now, here's the thing about it. You're just going to fill it out with all of the information you put in for your company and stuff like that. Everybody that owns a part of the company, you have to put their information on this form. You cannot not do this. Okay. It's mandatory. So ain't no getting around this unless they actually change the laws. Now, if they change the laws, hey, I'm all for it. I'm glad that they'll do it because I think the Secretary of State already has this information. They should have been conversing that with the Secretary of State instead of with the individual because all the information there with the Secretary of State. I think it's just a waste of money. That's just my rant on it. Now, here's the thing about it. I would tell you, if you have bad credit, you just set up a new LLC. One of the things that's so important, if you'd have added somebody on that LLC along with you, now when they apply for credit, everybody that's on that company, they're going to pull their credit. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But and that can be a good thing. The reason is because where you may not qualify for that credit card because they have established credit, they may be able to get that unsecured credit card. Okay, so that's the reason why. Now, another thing that most people don't do, and which we actually help and we continue to tell you, you should set up some type of payroll. Now, here's the thing about it. If you are working a job, one of the things about it that most people don't know, when you're operating as an LLC, any type of revenue that's coming into the company, the interesting thing about this is that revenue, what ends up happening, you have to disperse it to everybody. So that means that if you all of a sudden just get a big jump in business sales and stuff like that, then what happens if you work a job that could possibly increase your AGI, your adjusted gross income. All right. So you have to be easy. Now, in reference to those trying to set up an LLC, then you probably want to look at company like Busy. All right. Now, I was telling people like with Busy, they have a lot of flexibility, and I put a link below for that. But you definitely, if you're looking to start an LLC, again, I'm not a big proponent of LLC, but they are a good company if you want to start an LLC. Now, for those of you that may have questions about more business credit funding, personal credit funding, challenging negative items off the credit, click the link in the description. Schedule a one-on-one consultation. Thank you.